All right, so this particular situation happened when I first started with this particular company. I had only been there for a couple of weeks, but this particular shift was like really, really bad. Like our dish machine was down for a little bit. The henny penny fryers were acting stupid. The servers themselves were in rare form. The guests were soup, salad, and bread sticking us to death. It was a night. So later that night, I'm in the office. This was like close to 12 o'clock. I'm doing like all of the paperwork, making sure that I'm setting up the next day for success. And the phone rings. So I always pick up the phone because sometimes, for the most part, it's always team members. Like they left something, they need to come back in, or they forgot to clock out, or sometimes we have young people that's catching Ubers or so. So I always tell them, if you need to call, just, call me. I'm right here. So I pick up the phone and it's a lady and she says, "Hey, I need to speak to a manager." So I said, "Yeah, my name is Kelly. How can I help you today?" And she says, "I was there having dinner earlier and I left something that's really important and I need to know if you guys found it or if you can go look for it to see if it's still there." So I say, "Okay, well, just so you're aware, the restaurant is closed. If I do find whatever it is that we're looking for, you're going to have to retrieve it tomorrow morning. It'll be open at 11 o'clock. She says, "Okay, no problem. I just really need you to let me know if it's there." So I say, "Okay, well, just kind of describe where you're sitting and what it is I'm looking for." So she says, "Oh, I have my receipt right here. It says I was at table 37. I say, "Okay, no problem. Now, what is it that I'm looking for?" And she says, with kind of like an attitude, she's like, "Yeah, I don't really have to tell you that." Like, yeah. I said, "Ma'am, you do. You want me to stop what I'm doing to go look for something that you lost. So I kind of need to know what I'm looking for so that I'm not walking around the restaurant just hoping my eyes meet whatever it is that you want me to find." So then she's like, "Listen, I'm just not comfortable telling you what it is." I said, "You know what? That's perfectly fine. If you're not comfortable telling me what it is, then I'm not comfortable looking for it." Because in my head, it could be anything. It could be a gun. She could have cut somebody's finger off earlier in that day. Now she got me on my hands and knees looking for key pieces of evidence. No, we're not doing this. So I tell her, "Listen, I'm busy right now. If you don't want me to find whatever it is that you're looking for, you're going to have to call back tomorrow to see if someone else can help you." So then she's like, wait. So I said, "Ma'am, you have about 5 seconds before I disconnect this phone call with all, I'm not being rude or anything, but I have other things that I need to do." She says, "I think I left my underwear under the table." I said, "What?" She says, verbatim, "When I took my panties off, I put them in a napkin and put them in my bag. But I don't think that they went into my bag. I think they must have fell out." I said, "Ma'am, I can assure you with the strength of 1,000 assurances that if I find used underwear in my dining room, if I find them or my staff finds them, they're going immediately in the trash. I do apologize, but I cannot help you with this problem. You're going to have a good night." And I hung up the phone. But what made me mad is I had to go look for him. Because as a manager, you got to be proactive as opposed to reactive. And could you imagine the next guest coming in the next day and going to the bathroom with a pair of thongs on the bottom of her heel? You know how much money I'd have to comp?